everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Okay, story time about how my dad is not who I thought he was. So my parents got divorced when I was like 7, maybe even younger than that, and they always tried to make the relationship work out, but it just did not work. Somewhere in between that time of it not working, before we moved out with my dad, we stayed with my grandma for like a year, and then after that we moved back in. They tried to make the relationship work again. It didn't work. So then my dad like had multiple girlfriends, and those girlfriends didn't work out. He had one girlfriend where it worked out for about 9 years, maybe longer. And then that didn't work out and they broke up. So then he met my stepmom. This is where it gets crazy. I was always told that when they met, she was 25. I know, you're probably like, 25? How old is your dad? He's almost 50. He's almost 50. I think he'll be like 48 this year. I don't know, because he doesn't celebrate my birthday. I don't celebrate his. So, didn't find out that she was 25. He was always telling us that she was 25. So I thought she was 25 when we first met. They first met when I was like a sophomore in high school. So I was maybe 15, 16. So fast forward, my dad then decides he wants to be Muslim. And to correct that term, the first term he used was Hebrew Israelite. He said, y'all don't have to do it. I'm doing it, whatever. I said, okay, cool. So then he started saying that we had to do it. And so to circle back, he met my stepmom on Instagram. She flew down here to be with him. They got married within maybe a few weeks of her being down here. So then she started moving in. I love my stepmom down bad. Never had no bad blood with her. She real cool. I love her, okay? So then they've been together until this moment. Like they're still together, they're still married. They then had 3 kids, okay? So I have 3 younger siblings. And before, like, they had all of my younger siblings when I got kicked out. Let's rewind. I got kicked out at 18 because my sister told me that no one loved me, no one cared about me, and everybody was ready for me to leave. So then I had said something back to her, and I don't remember what I said because I was mad. Like, why would you say that to me? And so she said that. I said something back to her. Next thing I know, my stepmom's come to me and she told me, you got to find a place to stay because you're not going to stay here and disrespect my other kids. I said, okay, cool. Because at this point, I'm done fighting. I'm done arguing. I don't know what the hate is. Rewind further back, before I graduated high school, me and my dad and my stepmom used to get into it every day. And the only reason me and my stepmom got into it was because of my dad. So me and my dad got into it every day. And then one day, one of my friends at the time was having a birthday party. I was like, can I stay the night at her house? My stepmom's like, yeah. And I said, make sure you clear it with dad, because if you don't clear it with him, it's going to be a problem. She said, don't worry, I'm going to clear it. I go to school that day. I go home with my friend. I'm at her house. I'm chilling for a couple hours. My dad starts blowing my phone up, asking me where I'm at. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was like, I'm at my friend's house. Like, I'm at my friend's house. I already cleared this with mom. And he was like, this is his words. He said, you're my kid. She can't tell you what you can and can't do. Excuse me. I thought that because y'all were married and because when she came here, you said that we had to do whatever she says, I'm doing what she's telling me to do. And now you have a problem with it? So then I'm like, bro, like, you already, like, I don't understand why you're tripping. I'm at my friend's house. You know about this. I already talked to mom about it, so I'm not coming home. So then he goes, you're so disrespectful. I'm going to ship you off to your real mom. I should have shipped you off to your real mom. And he always uses that as a threat. And so I'm like, at this point, I'm annoyed. I'm like, all right, girl, I'm going to just go home because my dad's tripping, like, whatever, woo woo. So then, fast forward, I get home. I low-key told the Uber to wait a little bit because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think I'm going to get kicked out. And my friend already said I could come back to her house. So if you could just wait a little bit. They was like, yeah, like, we just want to make sure you're safe. So I go in the house, tense. It's tense in there. I remember, I think my brother or my sister was doing dishes. Someone was in the living room. My mom was in the living room, and my other sister was like at the kitchen table. My dad comes to the back. He's like, oh, like he goes on this whole rant about how I'm just so disobedient, so disrespectful, so this, so that. Then he goes to say, you know, they used to kill kids and disobedient kids in the Old Testament. Goes to his room, comes back out with a long ass katana, holds that shit up to my neck, and it's like, I could kill you right now if I wanted to. He was like, you cannot stay in my house if you're not going to abide by my rules. I said, word. I get up, I go to my room, I start packing my stuff because I was like, anywhere else than here is a hell of a lot better. So I started packing my stuff up. He comes in the room, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you told me to leave. I'm packing my stuff and I'm leaving because I can't do this no more. So then he proceeds to pick me up, throw me on the ground multiple times. I'm screaming for help. I'm trying to claw my way out of my bedroom. So after that happens, he then picks me up again, puts me in the strongest chokehold I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm literally trying to claw my way out. Like I remember kneeing him in the eye, kicking him in his face, trying to get away from him. And then like after the chokehold, he picked me up and threw me against the wall and was like, you're going to get your karma for treating me like this. You know, God doesn't like disobedient kids. And I'm sitting there terrified. I've never been scared of my dad in my entire life. And I am not scared of that man. He's the first man to ever put his hands on me. Like, this is crazy. So he did all of that just to let me go to my friend's house the next day. And then my friend told me I ruined her birthday because I was just being all poopy and sad. But I mean, had you gotten your ass beat by your dad, how would you feel? I still try to show up and show out for you. I'm sorry that I got my ass beat the previous day, but that's neither here nor there. So after that happened, that's when I decided I got to get the up out of here, because ain't no way in hell you just did that shit, and I'm just supposed to be all fine and dandy with you. Are you serious? So boom, from when that happened, I started like planning my exit, because I was like, I'm not staying there. I don't care. I got to get up out of here. So then I started working. My first job was Zaxby's. I started working at Zaxby's. I didn't save any money from Zaxby's. And then I started working at Walmart, and I didn't save any money from Walmart. So from the time of working at Zaxby's up until my last job, which was McDonald's, from living in the household, my dad hated having to take me to work. He hated having to pick me up from work. So I took Ubers, and sometimes I didn't have enough money for Ubers. So he'd be like, okay, well, if I take you to work, you got to give me gas money. I can just call out. It's not that deep. I'm in high school. I also had to buy my own groceries while living with him because he didn't want to buy groceries. He didn't want to include me in the groceries. Now, my stepmom, she still fed me. She still made sure that I was okay. So it was mainly just him going out of his way to make my life a living hell. And so I don't remember if I said this in the last video, but towards the end of it, that's when we got into it. And then boom, I moved out. So then I moved out. I tried, let me rephrase that. So I actually got kicked out. After I got kicked out, I moved into this place called College Point Apartments. I had no idea on how apartments worked, how they operated. All I had was like, I think maybe $600 to $800. I didn't have a lot of money, so I put what I had down, and the rest of the money went towards what I could get from my apartment as far as like food and stuff like that. So I did have Jalaisha and Luke in London, I believe, help me out when I was moving. But they were the only three that helped me. If there was someone else, I just don't remember. So no shade, no nothing. I have terrible memory. So they helped me get situated. I stayed in that apartment for about maybe 2 months before I moved in on campus and started college. Throughout the entire process of college, he would get so mad at me whenever we had to do the FAFSA. Everybody knows that if you're in college, you have to do the FAFSA every single year. So he would get so irritated that we would have to do the FAFSA every single year. He didn't put a dime towards my college. He didn't support me while I was in college. And so I also forgot to mention that they did not show up for my high school graduation. I didn't have nobody show up for me. And that in itself was really sad, because that's what I wanted. I mean, they watched me on live stream, but they didn't show up. And my dad's excuse for not showing up was that my mom was pregnant and he didn't want her out in the heat but our graduation didn't start until night. So I didn't understand the correlation there. I did get to stay out later that night with no type of like anything towards me bad. I didn't get home till like maybe 12:01, but I guess he understood at his graduation, so I wasn't going to be back in because I went and got dinner with my friends afterwards. So fast forward to where I am in my senior year of college, and I got cheated on by my boyfriend, and I found out that my dad had gotten into a really bad accident. Between this period of time, I'm constantly trying to rekindle the relationship between me and my dad. I'm always reaching out. I'm always the one trying to keep that communication. Did I reach out and ask my dad for money? But I can count on one hand alone how many times I reached out and asked him for money. And if he tries to say that that's a lie, I literally can come with the receipts. So I don't like to ask my dad for money because there's always a problem when it comes with that. And I never really understood why, because I would see all my friends ask their parents for money and it'd be no big deal. But with him, it was always a big deal. Always, always, always a big deal. And I never really understood that. So, I also was in color guard in high school. There was one point where I wanted to be a cheerleader, and he said, okay, I'm going to take you to go get your physicals, and he never did. But anyway, that's neither here. So let's get back to the original topic. Now that you got a little bit of background on who my dad is from my point of view, and now I'm going to tell you about what I didn't know growing up. So I call my biological mom. She's telling me all of this information. She goes on to tell me how he cheated on her within the first 2 weeks of them being married. She told me about how I have potentially 2 older siblings out there. She also told me about how my sister is my half-blooded sister and not my full-blooded sister. He disowned the daughter that is fully his while keeping the daughter that was not his. Which I still love my sister down bad. That's my sister from day one. Like nothing's gonna change about that. But the fact that you knew and you kept her from getting to know her actual father is crazy. Now, these are all claims that have been made, but the cherry on top of the tea is the fact that I call my stepmom to tell her about all of this because she deserves better. I don't care. She deserves more than the life that she's getting right now. And I hate that he met her when she was 22. I was 22 2 years ago, and I couldn't imagine being with a man who had 4 kids. He talks up a good game, says, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. He doesn't even do that shit for his kids. Why the hell would he do it for you? Nothing against my stepmom, okay? She was young. She was trying to get out of a toxic situation herself, and she genuinely believed that she had met her husband. She wanted to do all of these things, but she didn't want to do them until she met her husband. Then she met her husband, and her husband turned out to be shit. That's just what it is. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. So I'm telling her all about what I've just been told, and she told me that he was telling her stories about his, like, what he done in the past, and the name Da Vinci came up. My mom told me that a lady named Da Vinci had a baby by my dad, and my stepmom told me that my dad told her a story about how a lady named Da Vinci shot at him. She shot at you because you got her pregnant and you tried to leave her. That's why she shot at you. If you're gonna tell the whole story, tell the full story. Then when my biological mom told him that my sister was not his, he was like, I don't care, she's my daughter regardless of it. Then I found out that when they got in that custody battle and he had to get us DNA tested, he tested everybody but Asia, my sister. He tested everybody but my sister. And I never knew that. He always told us, oh yeah, I got Tesla tested, but she was not mine. But he always said, I got all of y'all tested and y'all came back as mine. But now I'm finding out that you only got 3 of us tested. You didn't get her tested because you knew she wasn't yours. How the court system allowed that to happen, I don't know, but it did. So, oh my God. So then my dad proceeds to have 3 more kids with my stepmom. 3 more kids that he doesn't even take care of. He doesn't even raise. So after finding out all of this information, I was like, I need to talk to my family members. So I make a post on Facebook. I tag who I had on Facebook as my friends, my mom's side of the family. I tagged them. I said, I got questions. I need answers. Y'all reach out to me. I called my Aunt May. She told me that she did drive my mom up there to see us every single time. My dad would not let her see us. There was also a situation, this is a side topic, but there was also a situation where my mom had recently came up there to get him to drop a warrant that he had put out on her in 2010, I believe. And he flipped the story and told me that she had came up there showing child support papers from 2001. And he was like, she looked all drugged out and da-da-da-da. And why is she coming up here with these papers? Like, that's how you know her mind not right. And she was like, every single time I go to your dad's house, I bring the police because he has that warrant on me. And I've just been trying to get him to drop it. So you lied, you twisted the story. I wasn't there because I have my own place. So I wasn't there when she showed up, but you lied, twisted the story, called me to tell me the story and made it sound like it was something that it literally wasn't. So I was like, that's so weird. There was even a time, I don't know if I said this in the previous video, but there was even a time where I remember going with my mom and my dad to go get his hair done, and he took forever in the hair appointment, and he was the girl in the hair appointment. My mom got out the car and she flipped out. It was a whole thing, but I suppressed that memory because obviously it was traumatic. I was youngest when that happened. Suppressed that memory, and it now came back up after hearing everybody's side of the story. So then I call Calandra, I believe her name is, and she tells me that she goes on, I forget what she told me, but she told me she confirmed everything that my mom said. She confirmed everything my mom said. She confirmed everything that my stepmom told me. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. I'm just lost at words right now. I literally cried maybe last night and the night before because I'm like, wow. Like, my dad is really not my dad. Like, my dad is really not the person he portrayed himself to be. And then on top of all of that, I started crying because I'm thinking, like, he's really going to die alone. He's going to die alone at this rate that he's moving. And of course, him being my primary parent, that hurts me. I don't want him to die alone. But also, these are literally the consequences of your actions. My stepmom been telling him, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to lose your family. You've already lost one daughter. Would you like to lose two more? And he would. He would like to lose his entire family if he could, because he does not want a family. So imagine how that makes me feel when this entire time people have been telling me to just get over it, let it go, move on. When I knew something was not right. I knew something was not right. And my soul would not let that shit rest. I would cry countless times because I'm like, damn, like, my mom really didn't want me. Like, I could not wrap my head around the fact that this lady grew me in her stomach for 9 months and she just up and left. And she said that she never wanted a family and that she never loved us. And this entire time my dad's been projecting. He's been telling us how he feels, but is making it seem like that's how my mom felt. I don't even know what to believe anymore. I don't know what to do. I have opened a can of worms for myself, and now I'm having to figure out how to release the worms back into the soil, one by one, making sure they all make it back to where they were supposed to be, instead of in that can. And the can is so goddamn big that it's going to take me forever to get all these worms back in the ground. You catch what I'm saying? This is why when I have a family, there will be no secrets. There will be no nothing. It's going to be all laid out there on the table. Because why am I now just about to be 25 and I'm getting to know my mom's side of the family and getting to know my mom when she should have been there 25 years, when she should have been there 15 years ago? You know what I'm saying? My dad did all of this shit out of spite because he did not want. That's the thing with narcissists. They want to be seen as a perfect good guy, that they would never do anything wrong. But in reality, they're fucking crazy. And then he also tried to say, you're a narcissist, Nay. Like, that's what you are. You're a narcissist. You don't care about anybody but yourself. Once again, projecting, because I knew I wasn't a narcissist. I sat here and made sure my brothers and my sisters got up on time for school for a long amount of years while you worked overnight every single time and then came home. Which, now that I think about it, he chose that work schedule on purpose. Because he would go to work at like 10, work until 7 in the morning. From 7 till da-da-da-da, we're in school. When we get out of school, he is then, after we get out of school, he then either takes a nap and then sleeps all the way until it's time to go to work. So I only got to see my dad maybe 2 or 3 hours after I got home from school. That's not enough time to be bonding with your parent. And then on the weekends, when he didn't work, he was preoccupied with his car or just sat in the house all day. He didn't really do anything. Like, he didn't come to any of my color guard competitions. He didn't really show up and show out like he should have. He never even came to any elementary school award programs. There was my 5th grade year, I won so many awards and so many trophies, and no one was there. And I noticed. I sat in the crowd and I thought about how nobody showed up for me. Nobody. I'm watching everybody else's parents congratulate their kids and love on them, and nobody was there. I remember riding home on the bus that day, and the bus driver like thanking me for, like, not thanking me, but just like being like, oh my God, like, you got so many awards, you're so smart, just giving me praise. And I just remember thinking, like, I was so done, you know. As a 5th grader, I was done. I had realized, like, that is when I stopped caring. That's when I dropped off the AV honor roll, because nobody showed up for me. So when I started 6th grade, that's when I said, I don't give about my grades. And that's where me and my dad started to butt heads a lot, is when I started to not give about my education. Because I'm like, I'm doing all this hard ass work and not getting, nobody cares. Nobody cares that I'm working hard. What if I'm working hard as a 5th grader? I could just be bull right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I felt. So that's when I fell off and stopped caring about school and stopped caring about doing schoolwork. And that went all the way to college. That went all the way to college. I stopped giving about the honor roll. Sometimes I wish I would have never opened this can of worms, because I don't like to have to see my dad in a different light, but this is what it is, and this is what I had to accept. So let's talk about how you've delayed your kids, because now I'm mad, because my brother, who is 28 or 29, I don't know, he was born in 1998. I don't know math. We stopped celebrating birthdays a long time ago, because being Muslim, you don't celebrate holidays. And I'm going to talk about that too, because I had like 2 people in my comments being super butthurt, and I guess they didn't see my comment. But let's talk about the fact that my brother's 28, and my brother graduated high school, and after high school, he became the full-time caretaker of my disabled brother. I said one day, because I never cared about voicing my opinion. If it don't look right, I'm going to say something. I said, I don't think that it's fair that KZ, which is my brother, KZ has to watch, he has to take care of my brother IQ when he wasn't the one that had him. He wasn't the one that, laid down in that bed and made him. And he deserves to have a life outside of that. He didn't sign up to be his full-time caretaker. And everybody jumped down my throat like I said something terrible. When in reality, that's the facts. He didn't lay down and have IQ, so therefore he shouldn't be required to be his full-time caretaker. He should be able to live his life. He's never had a girlfriend. He doesn't have his driver's license. He's never had a job. My worry is that they're not going to catch on to the social cues of today's world. People are mean. People are evil. People will take advantage of people. And if you aren't socially aware of your surroundings, or you just don't catch on to social cues, that is going to make it very hard for you to know when people are, trying to play you. And so that's my main concern. That's my main worry. So let's move on to my sister. My sister, who is 23, she's going to be 24 this year. She just got her first job at Walmart. She doesn't really know how hard it is to be out here on your own. And she wants so badly to be out of that house. And I want for her to be out of that house. And I want to help her get out of that house. But I don't have the financial means to do so. I don't have the mental state to do so. I don't even have the space to do so. I can't help her the way that I want to. But she's taking the steps to do so, which is going to work at Walmart. She doesn't have her license. She has her permit. She dropped out of school. Why did she drop out of school? It was her last year, her senior year. My dad let her drop out. Don't know why. Don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. So now she's working on getting her GED, which a GED will never replace a diploma. Everybody knows that, but that's better than nothing. So she's working at Walmart. She's got her GED. She's on track. She's not playing no games. She wants to get the hell up out of there, okay? And I don't blame her. But my sister is mentally delayed. Not as much as the average person, but as the average mentally delayed person, but she is. So there are she doesn't catch on to social cues really fast. And this is all due to my dad not being a parent. And you're probably wondering, well, Nay, how are you so, because I didn't listen. I never listened. I always did what I wanted to do. Always. Even though I would get in trouble, I would still do what I want. Because in the end, I know the outcome is me getting in trouble. So I'm going to get in trouble, get it over with, and still continue to do me. So when that meant having friends, and that's another thing that I noticed. My dad hated when I started really bonding with people outside of the house. When I started like making friends and wanting to be out all the time, he hated that. It really irritated his nerves that I would ask to go somewhere every day after school because I had friends. And so I really just evolved when I started, when I made friends. So when I made friends, that opened the doors for other activities at school. Like I started, gossiping and I started catching on real quick. So yeah, I'm able to be out here and do whatever, and be perfectly fine. I know when someone's trying to play me and when someone's trying to, like, I have that life experience because I didn't let him deprive me of that. Like, you weren't going to deprive me of something that I am deserving of, which is what everybody's deserving of, which is living life and experiencing it. And they haven't been able to do that. And I hate that. And you think I'm about to let 3 of my younger siblings go through that? Absolutely cannot. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. He delayed 2 of his kids from being the best versions of themselves that they could have possibly been at this age. So now half of my brother's 20s, or a third of his 20s, have been spent being a full-time caretaker for my brother when my dad should be doing that. My dad doesn't even take care of my brother anymore, my disabled brother. I mean, he was literally taking money from his checks and not using it for what it was supposed to be used for. My dad literally keeps going back to school online to have something to do so that he doesn't have to take care of his kids. So all of this information that I got, I will never reach out to my dad again. I will never shed another tear for him again. Because he didn't care. And that makes me think back to when I was like, oh, I'm going to kill myself. When I was in middle school and they made me go see a whole therapist and I couldn't come back to school until I did so. My dad was like, why would you say that? And I'm like, I mean, look at me. Look at people. Oh, they keep bullying me. And a sane parent would go down to the school and cuss the school out. Because why would you say that my daughter did this and I know for a fact she didn't? But instead, he said, he was with the school system and was like, you don't need to be saying stuff like that because they're going to think you crazy and they're going to put you somewhere. So I don't need to be saying how I really feel. I don't need to express to you that I'm this close to taking my life because people are bothering me at school. And instead of being a parent, you tell me that I need to keep my mouth shut and stop saying shit like that. And then you dive into the conversation of, well, you're pretty and you don't need to be thinking about what other people are saying. After saying like that, like that's supposed to make it sweet. No, I expect you to go down to the school and cuss them people out. I didn't do that. And yeah, I am going to kill myself because these niggas keep bothering me. Maybe if I was gone, they wouldn't bother me no more. They wouldn't have nobody to bother. So there's so many situations that I could bring up where my dad was being shown his true colors in the moment, but yeah. So the only thing I can say that my dad did was he kept a house above my head for a good amount of years, and he made sure we was fed. But as far as anything else, he's a liar, he's a cheater, and he's a narcissist. And he's an Aries. So,
What it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video. Back in the confessional, and yes, we staying lit, big dog, man. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day. And it's kind of, as a father, yeah, as a father, this is terrible. Kind of heartbreaking watching your kid, not my kid, but as a father, you like, man, do my kid really feel like this? Like she really messed up in the head. But that's why, like, well, as a man, I think that like when he's like, "Oh, you can't go with your friends or you can't do this." As for me, I feel like I'm protecting her. For her, she might feel like something else. She might feel like I'm not trying to let her live her life. But I think I'm more uh, outspoken about why I do certain things with my daughter because don't she don't listen and don't pay attention, and that's I'm well aware of that. So but my main thing is I also don't like to all over her back because she got to bump her head too. But I don't want her to bump her head and the baby come home. I ain't trying to hear that. Nope, nope. Um, but at the same time, like you can be a tough father, not Michael Jackson, not Joe Jackson tough, but you can be especially with daughters because I think the most important part about being a father with daughter is you have to teach more than you have to do stuff. Because I'm so used to doing stuff and just like man, just let that now finding myself teaching, all right, cooking, cleaning, driving, um, just everything, school, boys, friends, um, just everything. You just gotta teach. You gotta teach. It's a constant teach pattern, and you can't just say, "No, you can't do this" and give no explanation, or you can't say, "This is how this goes" and give no explanation. And then, but my thing is, I also try to give them a. And my daughter said I do this all the time. I be like, now, how does that make sense? Just figure it out. Figure it out, because I be like, I try to get her to figure it out before I have to tell her, because then you start to thinking. You trying to use your problem solving skills. Why did he tell me this was wrong? What's wrong about it? Because me thinking logically, I'm like, okay, she can maybe look at it and see what's wrong with it, and I just be like, she always be like, you always tell me that you say you don't supposed to do this and or do it right, and then tell me to figure it out. So I be like, damn. I mean, I do that, and then so now I still do it, but now I'm starting to give more of a why you need to do it this way or what to do, because then if I'm every time I'm doing it, every time I'm telling her what to do, that she's not trying to think about a better way to do stuff, because my main goal is to teach her that when something happens, there's a way to try to figure out something. Or if you using something wrong, there's there's always Google. And that's what if I don't know how to do stuff, I Google. It just breaks my heart that I be like, you gotta tell these kids how to use Google, like, you know. Um, so even I just posted a video on my Instagram. Matter of fact, y'all follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to get to 100,000 followers. Um, it's a kid on Instagram in Philadelphia was going around having students read a simple sentence and telling us what it meant, and none of them can read it. And all these kids were supposed to be graduating, so now he's facing being expelled, and not being able to go to prom because he put this on social media, and now it's exposing the school system. And so when you do stuff like that, you expose some people who don't want to be exposed because everybody's supposed to be doing their job. But that's why, as a father, supposed to be proactive in your kids. You're supposed to, as when they're young, you're supposed to be proactive in reading to them, getting them used to reading, and getting them books so they love to read. Because they don't know what they love until you introduce it to them. So as I'm introducing my youngest to more books, at the same time, there was a time when I was trying to get my oldest one, a 15-year-old, to read, that I was getting pushback from other sources, and it doesn't matter anymore. But thing is, I can see the results of not reading enough. Now, the grades is good. I'm saying not reading enough, because kids that love to read tend to do better in education. We ain't saying better in life. We just saying better in education. Okay. But you can be book smart and don't know how to, you know, change a light bulb or a smoke detector. You know, there's certain things you got to do to smoke detectors. Once you throw them out, you got to like disable them, or they're gonna chirp for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff you got to do. It's just small stuff like that. You having girls is so important as a father, of teaching them and making them aware of certain things. So it sucks to hear this woman had this relationship with her father. Probably not because he didn't care about you. It's probably because he didn't know how to care for you. He was just being a quote unquote man, which he thought he might have been doing the right thing, but he thought he had his woman there to help you, or just to be your uh outlet. But same sense, he didn't want you listening to her because he's the man. So it's a lot of things that went wrong in that. I'm sorry she had to go through that. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section.